D'Angelo Moses with the Mental Health Empowerment Group. And I am excited today to be with you. The name of this channel, my YouTube channel, is Balanced Mind and Theology. And I am with the Mental Health Empowerment Group. And the purpose of the Mental Health Empowerment Group originally was named Eloquent Speaking Consulting, erasing the stigma of mental illness. But it was also for mental illness and marriage and the family videos, in which I did and performed also with ESL tutoring and education tutoring. And then I transformed my name and changed my name last year to the Mental Health Empowerment Group, specifically focusing on mental health coaching, relationship life coaching, and marriage and the family ministries, along with theology from a biblical worldview. So today I thought about what I would like to talk to you about, and I decided, I don't know, should I talk about angels? I started to talk about angels because someone had asked me about angels and different types of angels there were. And last week I spoke to you from the book of John, and I spoke to you from the Bible. But this time I thought, well, I think I'll talk about relationships. And I actually opened up my email, went through my email, and found a blog from Prepare and Enrich. Prepare and Enrich is a marriage facilitation program that a person can go through, couples can go through for premarital counseling, for marriage enhancement if they are married, just for conflict resolution, different things like that. Prepare and Enrich, and I'm actually certified to become to be a Prepare and Enrich facilitator, and to institute and distribute those reports and facilitate with couples. So if you're interested in finding out more about Prepare and Enrich, you can take the Christian version or you can take the non-Christian, the secular version. There are two versions. My husband and I actually went through Prepare and Enrich when we got married for the second time. I think I told you last time that my husband and I were married, separated, divorced, and then remarried. And so we have now been married for 10 years, September 5th of this year, but 14 years altogether. So I came upon this article today in my inbox from Prepare and Enrich for the facilitators. It came from the blog, and it was entitled 3 Times to Ask for a Do-Over. And it says, have you ever had an interaction with your spouse that unexpectedly turned into a fight, all because of a communication mistake? You might know what's happening even as the words are leaving your mouth. You can feel your spouse's vibe change in response. You wish you could take it back or start over, but it's too late. What's done is done. Or is it? Well, life is full of situations in which you only get one shot. Marriage offers up many opportunities when a second chance can be just what you need to turn an otherwise negative outcome into a positive result. When you know you're just making a poor choice of communicating with your spouse, requesting a do-over in the moment is an impactful way to quickly course correct the interaction. And then it talks about 3 ways or 3 times to ask for a do-over. And the first time is when your tone is off. Your tone is the way you communicate, how you speak, your vocal inflection, all that includes your tone. And when people get married, a lot of times you marry a person who is actually opposite of you. And I have a very forceful tone, a very direct tone. I can come across a little forceful. I can come direct. I can come across assertive. And sometimes I can be aggressive. I can be a little too aggressive. And my husband is opposite of me. He's passive. He's quiet. A little shy, a little introvert. He's not an extrovert like I am. He's the extra opposite of me. He's slow with communicating and slow with his words. Well, women in general are a little bit more, they're faster with their words. They can speak faster, they're quicker with their words, but some women are not. Some men are actually faster and are quicker with their words. Well, with my tone in the beginning of our marriage, I used to just go quickly with Lewis, and I got just just fly off the handle with my tone, and really send him spiraling downward and making him cry because he's a very sensitive man, and I could be quick with my tone. So when you have a sharp tone, that's one way that they in this article it says you can ask or request for a do-over when you feel yourself being snippy, impatient, a little sarcastic. It can take your conversation from being cordial to conflict before you know it. And it says that the one thing you can do is ask for a do-over. Say, "Oh, baby, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to snap like that." You could actually see in your spouse's reaction. Their body language may turn. They may get downcast with their face or their eyes, or they may get sad. And you can say, "Well, wait a minute. I'm sorry. That's not how I wanted to communicate. That's not how I wanted to respond. Can we try that again?" So just ask for do-overs. What this article says. The second way that you can request a do-over is when defensiveness takes over. Now, sometimes your spouse can make a comment and it can strike a nerve, and you get defensive. You respond critically. You you spark up, and you make a similar reaction, and you say something, flip it too, and this can turn into a vicious cycle. And the longer it continues, the harder it is to talk through your issues, be open, be authentic, and vulnerable with each other. So you can stop this cycle in its track by just requesting a do-over and just improving your communication and just not becoming defensive, but learning conflict resolution skills. You're taught this in Prepare and Enrich, and watching videos such as Marriage Today that helped me with your marriage. Lewis and I started watching videos on Marriage Today, and that helped us with our relationship. Marriage Today is by it's now called, I think it's called XO Marriage, by Jimmy and Karen Evans. And Pastor Jimmy Evans is very, very transparent about how he was like me. He was quick to speak, and his wife was a little bit more mousy, a little quieter, not fast with her words. And he literally basically ruined her with his words. And so watching those videos really helped us. So if you're having a relationship problem, I encourage you to watch YouTube videos or Marriage Today videos and invest in your marriage, your marriage problems. Okay, so the next thing is when your listening is subpar. Sometimes we can listen to a person, but we're not really listening. We're scrolling through social media. We got our ear in the television and also on our spouse. We've got thinking about what we're going to have for dinner. We're preparing for dinner, and we're thinking about what happened at work. And the spouse can be communicating what's going on in their life, what happened at their job, something that upset them, or something that made them sad at the grocery store, or something that how somebody cut them off in traffic, and they just want you to talk to them and listen to them, but you're tuned to something else. So when you're listening is subpar, you can request a do-over. Ask your spouse, "Wait a minute, I'm not giving you my full attention. Let me put down this social media app. Let me stop cooking this dinner and listen to you." Listening requires listening with your body language, not gestures, appropriate gestures, paraphrasing. All of that, that requires active listening. I used to teach that with my students when I taught public speaking. I used to teach about a teacher section on active listening. So active listening is important in communicating with your spouse. So you can request a do-over and say, "Hey, I'm not listening to you. Let me listen to you." Then you can paraphrase what that spouse has told you. So those are just some things from this article that you can request a do-over when your tone is off, when defensiveness takes over, and when your listening is subpar. The article suggests that you can request a do-over. Here are some books that I found helpful with me and my marriage on my marriage journey. The Five Love Languages by Gary Chapman. This is talks about the five love languages. I'm sure many of you have probably heard of the five love languages, but if you want to know the love languages, they're actually physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, and gifts. And so my love language is quality time. Well, that's opposite of my husband. His love language, his top two is physical touch and words of affirmation. So if you're looking for something that you might be, I don't know what my love language is, ask yourself, what am I looking for from my spouse? Or what do I mostly give to my spouse? If you give words of affirmation, that might be what you're looking for. That might be your love language. So in the beginning, it was hard for me to even come up with words of affirmation. I had to write down words of affirmation because that's not my primary love language. My primary love language is quality time. So I wanted my husband to stay home with me, to sometimes cuddle and watch TV and watch a movie with me, be in the room while I'm writing my books or journaling, and call me if he was going to be late. I wanted quality time. He also needs physical touch. So there were times when I would have to just rub his head or rub his hair or rub his shoulders or hold his hand or just cuddle or just hold him, or and he needed words of affirmation. He needed positive affirmation. And women, here's another thing. You need to be your husband's best friend and you need to be his cheerleader. You can really encourage your spouse by just being his cheerleader. So another book that was helpful to me was Love and Respect. And this is by Dr. Emerson Eggerichs. And Dr. Emerson says that men need respect and women need love. So it says the love she most desires and the respect he desperately needs. We actually learned this in church, that men desire respect. So you can tell your house. My husband used to say when we first got married, I'm going to work because that's the only place I can get some respect around here. And so he would go to work because I was so disrespectful to him. So one of the things you can do is say, hey, baby, I respect the fact that you come home from work and you don't go gallivanting around the neighborhood with your friends, or you don't go joyriding, or you don't go to the club afterwards, but you come home from work and you're here for our family. Hey, baby, I respect the fact that you go out and you take out the trash, even when it's dark outside. If you can't think of anything like that, just say little things like that. Write down little things to let your build up your spouse and let them know you respect them. Tell your wife, hey, honey, you're beautiful today. I love that way that lipstick looks on you today. I love how you take care of our children and how you course correct our children when they get off track. I love that about you, honey. I love the way you vacuumed and mopped the floor. So say something beautiful to your spouse. Say something lovely to your spouse. Say something loving to your wife, and say something respectful to your husband. Another book is Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts. Now, this was the very first book that my husband and I went through with when we first got married. We went through this book. It talks about this is a premarital counseling book, and this is good. This is 7 questions to ask before and after you marry. So we learned a whole lot in this. It talks about the myths of marriage. It talks about your habits, unrealistic expectations. It's a very good book. And even though we went through the book, one of the things we learned, we learned about our unmet roles, our unrealistic expectations, and our different roles that we had, and the different roles that we were going to play in our marriage. And we had set up these roles, and we talked with them with our premarital counselors. But then when we got married, we didn't do them. we were opposite. So I was supposed to take care of the finances. Lewis was supposed to handle the cooking and the cleaning of the house. Well, that's what he was good. That's what he's good at. And I was better with handling with the finances. We didn't do that in our first marriage. And that was something that kind of tore us apart. And so I said, got mad. I got frustrated. Here, you want to handle the finances because your dad handled the finances? You take over the finances. So he took over the finances, forgot to pay the rent. We ended up almost getting evicted, so we had to move out, and that's how we ended up separating. And I was quick with my tone and frustrated because I was at home. I didn't want to work at the time. I wanted to live off of his money, and he didn't make a lot of money. He couldn't make any money. So we took a break. I found a job teaching ESL from home and moved there with my mother, and found a job teaching ESL from home, uh, and also substituting and teaching ESL to adults with the school system. And I started working. And then he found him a better job. So we worked on ourselves and we got ourselves. He said, "Give me 3 years and I promise you we will remarry." And we did. We remarried in 2015. But we didn't go strong right away. We still had little bumps and bruises, and most of them were my fault again. I have to admit that. And so I would find my husband had writing in his journal. I was the one who led my husband to the Lord, but he was the one who was actually praying for me and praying for and the Lord, the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, "Deanna, you are the one that needs to change. You're the one that needs to change." And he was writing in his journal about asking, "I love my life. I love my wife. Help her to accept me. Help her to love me." And I had to change. So another book you might find helpful is A Celebration of Sex. And this is by Douglas E. Russinow, if I'm pronouncing it right. It's a guide to enjoying God's gift of sexual intimacy. This book gives you pictures, it gives you illustrations about sexual positions, it gives you information about making love to your spouse without physical contact, but even just being intimate, holding hands with one another, doing massages, communication. It just gives a wealth of information. So this is a great book for you and your spouse. And this was actually given to me before I got married by one of my church members. And so this is a great book. I read it by myself, and then we read it together. And this is a great book. So this may be a great book for you to invest in. And this comes from a Christian worldview. And then I think the last book that I want to share about is His Needs, Her Needs. This is building an affair-proof marriage. And for some reason, because of my mental illness, one of my things is that I think sometimes that Lewis is having an affair. I just become paranoid, and I'm always like, he's having an affair. He's going with his boss. He's going with his general manager at the restaurant, and I'm always saying that. So that comes with part of my paranoia, and so I read this book, and somebody gave me this book from church, one of the ministers, and I read this book, and we read this book together, and it really gives you good information if you to affair proof your marriage. So this is a good book because you may have generational curses that lead you to think about having an affair. You may have a mental illness or a mental aspect or something in your life that may cause you to think that your spouse is having an affair, or your spouse may have actually had an affair on you, and that might take away the trust and make you mistrust your spouse. So that talks about building an affair-proof marriage. So those are just some books and some tools. I just wanted to give you some encouragement. You can, as Jimmy Evans says, have a 100% success rate in marriage if you do it God's way. And you can do that by educating yourself about marriage, investing in books and in seminars, and having date nights and taking classes and courses, listening to YouTube videos, and reading God's word. So that's what I wanted to just encourage you. And I hope that I have shared something with you that has inspired you, encouraged you to keep on pressing on with your marriage. And until next time, I'll see you again. Bye for now.